the new year. Great to be with you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeff. Ira on the other side of the glass. Corey in Atlanta. Happy New Year, boys. How the heck are you? I'm great. Oh, Ira's not on. Maybe he's number 3. Try again. Ira.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Sweet.
Ira, try again.
Perfect.
I'm great.
Nah, I figured it out over here, buddy.
I would be better if Corey was here in the 850, but it's nice to just see him on the video.
Oh, that's sweet, Ira. I appreciate that.
That was very loving right out the gates.
Well, we got a lot of love to give after the year we got to have, man.
We do. And we'll get underway with the expression of said love here in just mere moments. First, we have to celebrate our friends at Register Sausage as we get the new year started. And what a new year it is, as Yay Sausage had a big promo code. All the good stuff has been going on with those guys. They're saving people money left and right because of all these FSU wins.
We maybe should have done a unison Yay Sausage for this season. The 10-3 season that no one could have ever predicted, Corey.
No, we saved that for national championships. It's like hour number 2. The bar has been raised now.
Corey, do you have the mic on that headset on?
Like it
Nope.
looks good.
It looks great, but it doesn't work.
Yeah,
I've been trying for the last 24 hours. It does not work, but you can still hear me, right? That's all that matters.
Yeah, you sound like S. You sound like
I
S.
know.
We're gonna have to go ahead and get you a working mic.
I have one. It's in Tallahassee.
But what happened to that one?
It's in Tallahassee. It did not make
the one that's on your head that you're talking.
Buddy, for 24 hours I've been trying to get this mic to work. I had Tom Lang. We tried to go through it for an hour. Aslan had tried to do it. It does not. The computer will not recognize this mic. So I apologize.
Well, just don't talk a lot.
I can see Ira's disgust. He's like, here we go. We're starting the new year this way. This is what my man does.
You know who never fails to disappoint, however? Register Sausage.
You said that
Not
wrong.
to disappoint. You said it wrong.
Who would never disappoint.
Yeah. He never fails to satisfy. Come on, guys.
It's not me that never disappoints.
Yeah.
It's Registers. I do never fail to disappoint.
Yeah, exactly.
Registermeats.com is the website if you want your delicious start the year right with some andouille.
Yeah.
I actually I think it was at the meet and greet when we were over there in Orlando. Somebody was, it actually was when Esla and I were driving back. We ran into a Florida State fan at the at a Chick-fil-A on the way back from Orlando, and he was like, "Listen, man, I live in Tallahassee, and I've tried a couple Publixes that don't have
that's not true.
The andouille.
This person's lying.
He might be on another side of town." So I told him, I was like, "You got to go to the one on Thomasville Road.
They definitely have it.
An ample supply." And you get not just the andouille, but and I'm going to lean into the mispronunciation. But you can get the cheddar jalapeno, the normal one, the short links. They got every variety you want. Or if you are outside of the area, registermeats.com. There it is. They'll deliver it to you.
It's fitting, guys, that we bring this up. We always do to start the show. We want to thank our many sponsors. But one of my New Year's resolutions was to cook more this year. I want to do more cooking at the house for the family. I've taken a liking to it in the last year, and I'm getting kind of good at cooking.
Grilling or just cooking?
No, like legit cooking in the kitchen, cooking as well. Well, I've always been able to grill. I mean, I am a man, right. But the other stuff, yes. I mean that I'm adding to the repertoire, and so this is perfect.
Maybe a little risotto. You like to do a little risotto, maybe?
Soon, Corey. I'll make it and bring it in for Seminole Headlines. We'll get after it.
Do you feel like most people either have a knack for cooking or don't have a knack for cooking?
I think that I'm about to put that to rest, buddy. I never had a knack. I wasn't any good. And now, it's amazing if you read the instructions. My dad used to tell me that. And I just said, oh, nonsense. Who's got time for instructions? But if you actually read the instructions, even like, let's say you go to a market and they give you, let's say buy a bunch of meat or whatever you buy, right? The cooking instructions are right there on the thing that, if you follow that to a T, you really won't screw it up. It's not that hard.
Sometimes in our household, I won't say who, somebody in our household who prepares meals on occasion, unnamed. Sometimes if we don't have an ingredient, we'll substitute another ingredient.
Just make it up.
And that success rate isn't super high.
Well,
we still love that person.
I have
with all of our heart.
Well, they don't listen to the podcast, so you're lucky.
You're fine, man. You are absolutely. You can say whatever. It's Kim. He's talking about Kim. It does not matter.
Decides to substitute ingredients. You can just say it. It'll be all right. It won't get back to her. The key to substituting ingredients, no matter what you're missing out on, if you have to substitute it, you do so with butter.
Just throw in some more butter.
You're good at that point. No matter what it is, you can be like, oh, it needs more salt. We're out of salt. Throw in some butter. And it works just fine. Everything will be all right. So just so you know, that's where we're at. A lot to be thankful for, a lot to be excited about. This is going to be, Corey and I said to Tom yesterday, because I could feel it already within myself, an interminable offseason, although spring football is only a couple months away, because I think collectively the fan base is going to be as excited for this next version of Florida State football as they've been since going back to before the 2012 season. Like I think people feel like we're on the cusp of being really, really good at football.
You could say they might actually already be there.
Yeah, I mean,
if you think back about it, that LSU win just gets prettier and prettier. And I know
better and better.
It was their first game, granted, but Florida State was pretty dominant in that game. They could have won that game going away. Corey wrote his piece, 10 key moments or 10 big plays, 10 biggest plays of the 2022 season. People can read it at warchant.com if you're a subscriber.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the plays was talking about the block kick. It was one of the top. I'm not gonna say it was the number one. Corey,
did you have it number one, Corey?
It was.
Corey?
We're not giving it away.
Sorry, no, I don't know. I don't remember.
It's in the top 10.
I don't remember.
But you forget about the fact that they, if they don't fumble the toss, they win that game going away.
Yes.
And at the end, you felt like it's, oh man, they held on. They did hold on for dear life, but it could have been a 2-touchdown win.
It's funny. We could talk about that game, and we will for many years, because if they go for 2 there, I think Florida State loses 1. 2, if they don't fumble down there, they win going away. So the extremes are right there in front of you. And then also, I think it was potentially, and it didn't happen, so we can say it now, it was potentially going to be a devastating loss for Mike Norvell and the future of this program. I really believe you can hone down to that game and say, if they threw that away after dominating for much of the contest and found a way to lose that game, I don't know, man. I don't know if they end up having a really great season like they ended up having. I mean, they're still wrought with doubt at that point. They still would not have gotten over the hump. There were a lot of mistakes made late in that game, which would cause all the more angst amongst the fan base about the staff.
That's why I had that play. I'm not going to say where it was ranked,
but it was very high.
But it was very high on the list, that block kick, because I think it changed the whole course of the season. I just think you start to go, if they lose that game, the way they would have lost that game, it would have been Jacksonville State painful. And then you're like, okay, nobody believes in this coach. The players might start not believing themselves. Instead, they got one of the biggest wins of their careers, all of them collectively, and felt good about themselves. And that started, that was the first or the second, I guess, of 10 wins. It was a huge, huge moment.
I think it was a huge moment, and it's fun to reflect after you go 10-3, because there are a lot of great moments. A lot of moments. There's some frustrating ones. There are some upsetting ones. There are some moments where you get aggravated by what could have been. But in the end, if you take the totality of a season and understand that some things are going to bounce your way and some things aren't, this was a really satisfying season for all of the telltale signs that suggest of what's to come, right? You found ways, even in losses, there were moments where you thought, oh, man, this is very different from a year ago. They weren't the same types of losses. And then in wins, you saw moments of pure domination 7 different times this year where they just absolutely throttled a lesser than opponent, which Florida State hasn't done in the better part of 6 years. So all of a sudden you're looking at a team where you're like, the evidence is all around us that things have been ratcheted up to a whole new level. And that's what I mean. You come into this offseason now and you're like, I think they're good with a chance to be really good, and we can't get to these games soon enough. But at the same time, I would say this will also be an interesting build-up to spring, because we're going to have real competition across the board, segment group after segment group, guys, where we don't know who's the starter. And when you have like a depth of competitive balance among segment groups, those practices become a lot of fun, because now guys are fighting for real playing time on a good football team.
Yeah, and I think we started to see that this year. We got the first signs of that this season after – really the last couple of years, man, it was whoever was, they didn't have any options. Whoever they were going with, based on who was a returning starter, who had the most ability, that guy had to play. They just didn't have any other options. This year, they had some more options, and it's going to continue to next year. And I think particularly on the defensive side of the ball, there's been a lot of question about how good this defense really was. Was it good or was it not? And a lot of the questions were about, okay, yeah, you were dominant, but against some bad offenses or teams that didn't have great quarterbacks. And that's fair, but it has been a long time since Florida State has looked like that against teams with average passing games or average quarterbacks or below average quarterbacks. they dominated those teams. And that's a big difference from where they've been for a long time. Now, yeah, you'd like to be a defense that can shut down even really good offenses. We can debate whether or not how often that actually happens in college football. But the fact that they were dominating average to below average offenses, and then you look at what they've got coming back next year. I mean, it's basically, it's 90 to 95%. We'll see what happens with Jared Verse this week. But we're talking about 90 to 95 your defense coming back, plus the guys you're bringing in through the portal. This defense should take another step up.
Well, think about Cypress and Fisk coming in and what they do to your defense. Your defense, especially if Jared Verse comes back, your defense is it's going to be better than it was this year substantially. You think about Cypress is probably going to start, right?
One would believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but Renardo Green and Jarian Jones were good at the end of the season. Azarie Thomas is coming along. That's a lot of talent at corner all of a sudden, where you talk about competitive depth. That's exactly what you have there. Maybe you move somebody to safety if you can't go get a safety in the portal. But you have options now because you have some depth in the secondary. You lost a really good one in Jamie Robinson, but you brought in the best defensive back in the portal. You brought in the best defensive lineman in the portal. That's bigger than signing, in my opinion, for 2023. That's bigger than signing the number one defensive lineman in the country that's coming out of high school. You got a kid that is ready-made going to start for you at two different positions. You know what they are. That's huge for a team that has, let's be honest, man, right now as we talk on January 3rd, this team has championship aspirations, and that's not crazy.
Yeah, I think that where they should start and the focus should be, because if you happen to do this and achieve this, then you'll be in the mix. You got to vanquish Clemson. You got to win the ACC. I mean, that's you got to do that first. Ultimately you'd like to win a national championship. Maybe you run into it along the way, but you got to win the ACC, and they still haven't done that, and it's been a long time. And they've lost a gazillion in a row to Clemson. And so it's, even though I think there is overwhelming evidence, I know you wrote about it in 3-2-1. I agree with you. I think Florida State will be the favorite in the minds of many to win the ACC going into next season. But they still got to do it. And, at this point, you look at Clemson and you see a lot of chinks in the armor. They don't look nearly as talented. You're seeing look at that receiving core. There's nothing special about what they have at wide receiver right now. And you look around that team and it seems a little disjointed. Something's not quite right. Florida State seems ready to pounce, but I get it. If I'm somebody that's not a Florida State fan, I'm like, well, slow your roll, guys. You didn't even win the damn conference and you still haven't beaten Clemson in like 8 years. So let's settle down. And fine. That's a fair take to have. But I also know from the Florida State perspective, there's blood in the water, and everybody senses it.
So Tom and I talked about this last night on the Smash, and I want to get your guys' take. We talked at the time about how we didn't understand why people in the national media kept kind of hyping up Florida State in the last few years under Jimbo Fisher. Like we could see they were in trouble. That this program was not in them. I mean, they were number 3 in the country for the GOAT game against Alabama, and none of us thought that they were one of the 3 or 4 or maybe 10 best teams in the country. But that's where they were ranked. Do you think that's happening now where we, maybe and other people, probably less us, but other people are still perceiving Clemson the way they have been, and going into the season, is that still going to be the perception, even though maybe they are kind of going down that slide?
100%. I believe it.
So?
Yeah, here's why. I yes, people see that Clemson is not the juggernaut that they were, but they don't perceive that Florida State has surpassed Clemson just yet. And listen, Clemson just won in Tallahassee. So as good a season as Florida State had, they did lose to Clemson again. And that wasn't a good Clemson team. And so not a great Clemson team for sure. So I think the national media is always a year behind what's about to happen. And it's understandable. They don't have a guy on the ground here that is reporting to them on a daily basis about the eroding culture or the emerging culture of something that's better. We watched it happen with Jimbo when he got here and he recruited grown-ass men, and how quickly we believe, those of us covering the program, that things had shifted. I remember before the 2012 season going into that thinking, well, they could win a national championship. Turns out we were a year off and whatever it might be. But we knew that things had begun to change player for player, segment for segment group to an elite level because of recruiting. You didn't hear people nationally saying Florida State's going to win the national championship. And even people, I mean, listen, I don't want to bring up Heather Dinich again, who's famous article is in the minds of many. But I mean, a lot of people, I think, shared that sentiment. Like, oh, they're not close. They're good enough to win an Orange Bowl against a bad Northern Illinois team, whatever. But people didn't think they were close, but we knew they were close. And I think people here are believing Florida State's very close to something special. Now, we can get into the argument, because I think it's nuanced, how close they are to winning a national title as opposed to winning the ACC and being in the playoff. And there is nuance. There's fun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think, that's fun. I mean, obviously, if TCU can get there, I feel like Florida State's pretty close to being able to get there if things bounce right. Do I think Florida State would beat Georgia or compete with Georgia the way that Ohio State did the other night? No, I don't. But I think they're not far off. So it's just that's what this upcoming season is going to be about. Like, how close are you to entering your name in the hat to win a national title?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, too, though, is Clemson lost 2 of their last 3 games. One to a pretty pedestrian, not a great South Carolina team. That Tennessee team didn't even have their starting quarterback and kind of pushed Clemson around.
Or the best receiver in the country.
And kind of pushed Clemson around. Clemson's not special on offense. And I think what Clemson fans, some angst they might feel, is their head coach is so against the portal. Meanwhile, everybody around him is stockpiling portal talent, including their biggest rival in the conference. And next year, I think there's a very good argument to make, depending on how this thing shakes out in the next 2 weeks with the portal and decisions to be made about guys coming back. Florida State will have a more talented roster than Clemson, certainly a more proven roster than Clemson. And Jeff's right. Like, I think that's the next step. I said it on Wake Up Warchant. Get to Charlotte. That's the floor for next year, in my opinion, to make it a successful season. You want to win in Charlotte, sure. Get there again. With the divisions not being set up anymore, you can lose at Death Valley because that's a tough place to play. We all get it. If you take care of business the rest of the way, you'll see them again. Get to Charlotte and have a chance to play for the ACC championship.
Yeah, on the one hand, I kind of hate this part of the process where you have to make that step, where you have to make that with the statement that Corey just made, that if you don't go to Charlotte, it's a disappointment. That seems harsh when you look at where we were, what we were thinking 5 months ago. But at the same time, you've got Jordan Travis coming back. Yeah. And, we just put up a story on the website. FSU pointed it out. He's got the highest PFF grade of any quarterback in Power 5 football. There's only one quarterback in the sport that has a higher grade, and it's a guy at Ohio. But in the Power 5, Jordan Travis has a better grade than all of those great Bryce and Caleb and all these great quarterbacks. Jordan had a better year. Regardless of whether he's better, in your own opinion, you have an elite college quarterback.
Yes,
you have a ton of guys coming back. Yeah, you got to get it done. Man, you got to throw it on the table this year.
Welcome to the world of expectations. Right. It changes when you have some success. Everything does, but I repeat it all the time. You're not a victim of your success. Those ratcheted up expectations are valid when you prove on the field that you have a viable product that can go win football games. And you go by position, they're better across the board than they were going into this last season. I mean, they get Fabian Lovett back. They add the number 1 defensive tackle in the portal. I think they're going to get the good news that Jared Verse is coming back. They already cleaned up with all the other guys that we've documented on warchant.com and all of our videos and write-ups and daily conversations about each of the guys they've added through the portal that are going to be plug-and-play players that we know can play at a high level. I also think they just upgraded their staff yesterday by getting rid of Woodson, who I've talked about for weeks on end needing to go. This is going to be a very different kind of year for Mike Norvell and his coaching staff, because now they're going to go into a season not with the, maybe you're pretty good. Let's prove it. Let's see what you got. We know you're good. Don't be losing to teams you shouldn't lose. Now there's real pressure. Like, you can't slip up against teams you're going to be favored against. And, oh, by the way, Florida State was not a favorite against Wake Forest. They were not a favorite against Clemson. They lost those games that they were kind of supposed to lose. Now you're going to be favored in those games. You're going to be favored over Wake Forest. You're going to be favored over the vast majority of the teams you face this year. The only time that I can really foresee you being a definitive underdog is on the road against Clemson. It's up in the air with Florida. We'll see what kind of team they have when that game is played late in the year. Up in the air with LSU, because people are going to think highly of LSU and Florida State going into next year, and the game is over in Orlando. It's a virtual.
Boys, I'll be honest, that might be the greatest opener of all time coming up.
The GOAT 2. The GOAT 2.
Yeah, we'll be there, buddy. We'll be there. Back at the Hairy Buffalo.
We had a good time, didn't we?
We did. We'll come back and talk about that very briefly here in a moment. It is Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did. Happy holidays.
Hey, this is Greg Tish. Here's something you might know about me. I don't drink coffee. I have never had a cup of coffee in my life. Well, that is until now. So why change now? Well, it's because my dear friend at Grassroots Coffee reached out to me after hearing me say that and insisted that I give his product a try. I've been making a huge mistake. The world of coffee is fascinating. I always thought coffee is coffee, you know? No, it's not. I have tried their coffee and it is fantastic. Now, I've got a fascination with learning more about the best coffee in our area. Grassroots Coffee is locally roasted, locally owned, and locally loved. You can find whole bean Grassroots Coffee on the local aisle at Publix, also in Whole Foods. But the best way to get this black gold is to order it online. They literally grind the fresh roasted beans to your preferred level, bag it, write the date on it by hand so you know the exact day your coffee was roasted. It doesn't get any more fresh than that. Order yours now. Just go to grassrootscoffee.com and choose the coffee you want and how you want it, and join me. Let's step up our coffee game together and also support a great local business.
Jeff, look at this beautiful day, man.
Yeah, it's getting a little chilly. I like it. You know, I'm a colder weather guy, but I worry about it for you because you can't wear the Speedo in the cold. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to wear a Speedo in the cold.
Jeff, it's always Speedo weather, man. We can always do this. Besides, my pool, it's heated.
Which means you're insufferable in a Speedo year-round?
Cannonball!
Still gross.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Get to some questions you guys have been asking. Tom, obviously your incessant need to find out about Adam Fuller is noted. We will at some point be able to give you that answer. It was erroneously reported that Woodson's contract was up at the end of this year. It was not. And so I can tell you that that was a fallacy. And then secondly, we do not know, but have requested. So we will find out. I know your obsession knows no bounds, but we are efforting at this point. Anything to add to that, Ira?
No. So the way it works is when coaches get extensions throughout their time, the schools don't announce, hey, we're giving somebody an extension. A lot of times we find out later when we put in a request. Adam Fuller's original contract was 3 years. It expires. That part expired, but they may have given him an extension. We've requested that. We're trying to see. For example, as you said, there were people that reported that Marcus Woodson was out of contract. His contract was up after December 31st. That was not true. He still had from what we were told, he had another year on his contract. So they can't, again, so we're trying to find out exactly.
Yeah, those extensions can happen and not necessarily be common knowledge for anybody covering the program.
There have been a lot
inquired about.
Yeah, there have been a lot of times through the years where somebody got extended. We didn't know about it until after the fact. because you just didn't ask, and they're not going to announce it until you ask.
Yeah.
They only announce head coaches, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Typically.
and you have now requested that information, so we will find it out as soon as we can. Now back to the point that was brought up by a live spectator, I believe, in here, and I've said this a lot lately, but it's fun when expectations are ratcheted up, and it's also fun when stability is achieved. And so for Florida State, this 10-3 season enabled them to arrive on a stable platform going into this offseason, where you could have different kinds of conversations with kids about the viability and longevity of your head coach and what's going to happen from this point forward. And it also invites you to be able to have conversations if you're looking to upgrade your staff with different coaches around the country. I mean, if you desire to do so, I don't know if this may be the only move. Maybe they make multiple moves. We'll see. Mike will be the one who decides that. But now you can have a guy, you can sit across from a guy and know that, you can offer up a job and he's not worried about whether or not you're going to be there. He knows. I mean, Mike Norvell's not going anywhere. They just won 10 games. He's going to get, I'm sure, probably extended, and that'll be announced and all that good stuff. So there's real stability here. And at that point, if you're a defensive backs coach or any other coach, man, it's exciting to work at Florida State when they're operating at peak efficiency, when you've got an investment from the university, the athletic department, the fan base, and the head coach, and now all of a sudden the players have been upgraded. You can't wait to work at Florida State because it's one of the truly special destination jobs in all of college football.
It's got to be attractive, right?
You
I mean,
think?
not just because it's Florida State, but Mike Norvell, he's a coach that lets his coaches coach. There are some head coaches.
And talk. He lets them talk.
Yes, he lets them. Yeah, he lets them speak to the media. He doesn't keep them under wraps. But he also lets them coach. And he's an active head coach in the sense that he goes from position to position. And he'll watch things and he'll offer input. But it's not like he was a wide receiver, and I think there was a perception. I had the perception that as a guy who played wide receiver in college, that he might micromanage Ron Dugans. He doesn't do that. I mean, he'll walk around and say things here or there, just like he does to every other position. But I think that's got to be attractive as well. And the fact that you do have security now, and you have an administration that is ponying up more money for its support staff. This isn't the perception of Florida State that people had a few years ago. Florida State's always had one of the higher paid football coaching staffs, but they've even increased that in terms of support.
I'll get to Z-Chan in just a moment, but don't forget to add you have a viable collective that is helping you in your endeavor to get these kids out of the portal and to retain roster spots for, obviously very valued football players. So you now have your NIL in order in a way that you didn't about a year ago or a year and a half ago. To go along with that investment from the university and the athletic department, you have what is right now certainly perceived to be a very popular and successful early on athletic director in place who has real autonomy and power, unlike your previous athletic directors, as we well know, the rearrangement that was previous. And now you have success on the field. So it all adds up to Florida State moving in the right direction. And that's why those expectations will be what they are. I mean, it's going to be that you got to win a lot of games. Z-Chan writes, Jeff, in all of your conversations with Norvell about Woodson, did you let him know who you wanted to replace him with? Just kidding, but who do we target? It's funny. I brought this up with Ira yesterday, and no, Norvell did not consult me. Clearly, he agreed with me, though.
Obviously.
But he did not consult me. And that's fine. Mike, you go ahead and hire who you want to hire. I'm just here to point out on your staff who's doing a good job and who isn't. And as long as we have that kind of working relationship, we're going to be all right. But I don't know. There are a lot of candidates because, again, this is a viable job. And there are a lot of guys that have had success in the Southeast in the world of recruiting. And, I'm talking about high school ranks as well as success on the field. I would think, just a guess, that the area where you want to see an uptick in success is retaining elite talent in the state of Florida. You've got to beat out Florida and Miami moving forward for the elite talent in this talent-rich state. So go get you a guy that can really recruit in the Southeast, in particular, if he's out there, the state of Florida. That would be what I'm guessing they would hyper-focus on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think, look, I mean, the reality is if Adam Fuller is still the defensive coordinator, I don't know that a position coach change, is going to change dramatically what they do. Now, I think Randy Shannon has provided some other thoughts on what they do defensively as co-defensive coordinator. And I think that's helped. And I think they work well together. I don't know the cornerback is a position that has a great impact on scheme. Obviously, they can be a better teacher. Maybe you can find somebody who's a better teacher.
Might be able to teach zone.
Well, again, I think that all works together.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to see a dramatic difference. If that's the only change on the defensive side of the ball, I don't know that you're going to see a dramatic difference in how they play. I thought their corners played pretty well. I mean, for all things considered, I thought their corners played pretty well. You didn't see the busts. I think they tackled pretty well. Renardo Green's a really physical tackler. I think Jarian Jones made a lot of improvements this year. But I think recruiting is the big thing. I mean, they do need to get more high quality defensive backs in this program. And
not always out of the portal. I think it has to be out of the high school ranks. This is where you can raise your level across the board. They're already elite in the portal. We got that covered, guys. We got that covered. And by the way, I hear Adam Fuller's a big part of why they're elite in the portal, and I don't disbelieve that. I've had good conversations with him about that subject.
But my point is, I don't know that it's everybody focuses on scheme. Like you're not happy with your offense or your defense, and everybody wants to focus on the play calls and the scheme. I don't think they're going to change a ton scheme wise. I think, it's getting better players. I mean, Corey and I talked about it at the game in Orlando, that it wasn't like we felt like that they were giving up plays because they were getting out schemed. They just didn't have guys that were fast enough to get to the edge.
Yeah, they weren't good enough. They got to upgrade personnel overall. I do think they can teach certainly how to play zones very specifically better. And that improves when you get better quality players, but also they were at a loss back there some. And I think you're right. It wasn't dreadful. They shored up those mistakes, those dreadful mistakes where we would watch guys running 40 yards free. That was gone. They did make improvements. I have other frustrations that involve the secondary specifically, and I think that will improve with a change. I do believe that. But the point is, I think there are lots of guys that can teach that, and that's why I would worry about this being a recruiting position more than I would a tactical or scheme position. I agree with you, Ira, in that sense. Like the guy you bring in, I think a lot of people are hopeful that it's a guy that will have a real impact on the recruiting trail.
It's cool to be here again, though, right? Like hearing Jeff hand-wringing about something like this that's pretty specific, because 3 years ago, man, you were just looking for competence.
Yeah.
You just all right, just get somebody here that won't embarrass the program. Get some coaches that kind of know what they're doing. Get some players that want to be here and can play. And now you're to a point where you think you might pinpoint a couple of things in this program that are keeping you from being elite, as opposed to just being average. Like you were just trying to get to average 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, this year you were trying to get to a bowl game. And then you turn it into a 10-win season. And now all of a sudden you're talking about, okay, what changes can be made to turn this program, this team from a good one to a great one, as opposed to an awful one to an average one. And that was, it happened so quickly. It's crazy that we're here now hand-wringing about a secondary coach, when 2 years ago, who cared?
Right.
Just show up and try to play.
Well, when the house is on fire, you're not too worried about the color of the drapes. I want to bring up Kurt Searcy's comment here. Can you guys address the need for increased strength and speed along the lines of scrimmage? Yeah, so what I did want to bring that up, or just talk about that in general.
I have a thought on that.
Because the reality is that does start with recruiting. I mean, that starts with the players you bring in.
The clay you're molding, buddy. Yes.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody on the strength staff recently about some of the guys they're bringing in through the portal. Now, again, these guys are later in their career, so you're not going to have them for 4 years or 5 years necessarily. But you're bringing in some guys that genetically are what you want to work with. And for a long time, Florida State has not had players. Some of those guys Florida State's been playing for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years on the offensive and defensive lines.
Yes.
Could work out from now till forever.
Yeah.
And they are what they are.
Yeah.
Genetics plays a big part.
Yeah, as you upgrade the level of talent on your roster, then all of a sudden you're bigger, stronger, faster. It's you've got better players to work with. Remember Leonard Hamilton's basketball teams? I know it's an unpopular subject right now in the midst of a terrible season. Couldn't inbound the ball to save their life. Then all of a sudden they were really good at it. Imagine that. They got better players along the way. Yeah, it happens. When your options change, obviously it changes your possibilities. But I would also say, as a parent, you think about the stages your kids go through, and everything's a stage. You have to constantly remind yourself of that. Like when it's going well, you remind yourself that it's a stage, because at some point there will be a dip and there'll be some negative behavior it's really tough to kind of deal with on a weekly or monthly basis. But then you remind yourself during that negative stage, it's just a stage. They'll come out of it. They'll get it figured out. Their hormones will die down. They'll figure, that's true of a football program, man. When you go from being really bad to average to pretty good, it gets harder and harder to see the obvious changes in a team's personality. It's the subtle things, Corey. It's the little things like let's shore up our back end here and be a little bit more diversified in our options defensively, what we can do and how we coach it. Let's see a better depth of talent on the offensive and defensive line. Well, that's just adding players, getting stronger, getting better, and the quality of players you're bringing in allows you to have a higher ceiling. And it doesn't happen overnight. So when you see a game in which maybe they're getting outclassed or they're getting outstrength or the numbers are thin and they're getting worn down, well, those are areas where you say, okay, well, that doesn't change just because I want it to. It takes 2 and 3 years for it to happen. It's not like they're not doing a good job from a nutritional standpoint or a workout standpoint. It's that they don't have enough quality depth to work with. So guys, the starters are strong enough and good enough. They get tired and the backups aren't strong enough or aren't ready yet or aren't good enough yet. And that's what's going to change as they continue to bring in like the guys we just saw. And listen, now they have a little bit of depth because Fabian Levitt said, I'm coming back. Right. Yeah. And you bring in the Fisk kid, right? And now all of a sudden, again, now you can have quality competition on a daily basis for a team that has high expectations. Corey, you say it all the time. It's one of the great Corey Clark sayings ever.
How do you pick just one?
Iron sharpens iron, guys.
That is the one.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting tired of that's the one that I keep getting. I've had so many great Clark.
But that is the one. Your original idea that iron sharpens iron is the one we all latch on to. So now we're truly talking about daily practices in which we don't have a guy overwhelmingly superior to the guy across from him. Now we got real, let's get it on. We're going to see some nastiness at these practices. This is where the intensity ratchets up now because I want to play. I want to start. I've been out here for 2 years, and just because you bring this guy in doesn't mean I'm going to let him play. Screw him. And now here we go. Let's get it on, man. And it's all because you want to win a championship, but I want to be on the field on 1st and 10 for an important drive. I don't want that dude to be on the field. Let's get it on. They haven't had that in some time.
How confident are you guys that they're going to be able to manage that part of just the player attitudes? This year, nobody, those guys could rally around each other because they knew nobody believed in them.
Correct. Kumbaya.
Nobody outside of that office or those football offices felt that this team was going to do anything close to what they did this year. So it's kind of easy to rally around that when that is gone and people now you do have expectations. And now you do have guys who are getting talked about as all ACC or perhaps even all American coming back. Do you feel confident that they will manage that part of it and the hunger will stay the same?
I do, because they can still remind them they haven't won a thing.
Yeah, they're 10-3. They lost 3 games.
And they didn't win the conference. They haven't won anything. I think where it gets hard is when you sustain success the way Alabama has or the way that Florida State did for 15 years. The way when you are elite every year and the expectation is national championship or bust, you might see attitudes and egos and problems, especially if things don't go the way that you had planned them to. You lose a game you're not supposed to. Now you're out of the mix. Guys going through the motions. We see that with elite teams. But Florida State's not elite yet. They haven't achieved anything yet.
But I think there's levels to it. I think it gets hard to do it the first time, and then it gets hard to win a championship. Then after you win a championship, can you sustain it?
Sure.
Yeah, there's different levels, and some of those might be even harder. But this is something new. I think the beauty of it, though, when you think about the wide receivers, let's say I'm just picking him as an example. Micah Pittman in the first 2 games next year has 4 catches for 15 yards and gets upset that he's not getting the targets that he wants. And I don't think Micah Pittman's that kid. It doesn't seem like he seems like he's a pretty selfless guy. I'm just using him as an example. And so he complains about it, whines about it, sulks about it. All right, man. Winston Wright can play. You're not invaluable to the point where you have to be on the field. I think you have enough of that depth at every position on offense, tight end, wide receiver, running back, that if you have somebody that's not happy, that's not giving it their all because they feel like they're not getting enough love, well, you got a guy right behind you that can play now. Malik McClain, Kentron Portier, Hakeem Williams, Johnny Wilson, the tight ends. Like, you've got all these pass catchers, man. You're not going to make them all happy. You can't. So they have to be collectively happy for each other, or they're not going to get on the field, I think.
Yeah, Corey, you're right. And we got to take a quick break. But if you're going to circle a group that has somebody who perhaps gets their nose out of joint, we got to start at running back. They have 750 of them. There's no chance that 2 of those guys aren't going to be like, well, looking like I'm never going to play. I mean, but the numbers alone, you can't have this many running backs. I'm glad we do. It's a good problem to have, but that's where I'm guessing we're going to see some attitude adjustments or some frustration. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
NFL this week, teams still clawing for playoff position. Jaguars on the Texans, chasing one of two playoff berths in the AFC. The Jags are a 4-point favorite on the road. Miami's still on the hunt, but they're 2.5-point underdog at New England on Sunday on the money line plus 135. The Jets visit Seattle. New York favored by 1.5. The Seahawks plus 105. College football bowl games today. Duke's Mayo Bowl. North Carolina favored by 1 against Maryland. At the Sun Bowl, number 18 UCLA by 7.5 against Pittsburgh. At the Gator Bowl, Notre Dame favored by 3 against South Carolina. Ohio favored by 2.5 against Wyoming. At the Arizona Bowl. And the Orange Bowl, Clemson favored by 6 against Tennessee. With your action update, I'm Bob Stitch from VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Your local news now.
Tallahassee Fire Department responded to a structure fire involving a 2-story home on New Year's along the 1500 block of Lake Avenue. Crews dispatched to the scene of the 1500 block of Lake Avenue on January 1st at approximately 12:21 a.m., finding a 2-story home with heavy fire and smoke coming from the second floor. No occupants were located inside once searched, and the cause of the fire is currently under investigation. The state fire marshal's office was also called to the scene for further investigation. A new Florida law is forcing some public officials to choose between their day jobs or holding office. The measure, which took effect over the weekend, prohibits public officials from working as lobbyists while holding public office. It also bars state and local elected officials from lobbying their state agencies or offices for 6 years after leaving office, up from a previous 2-year ban. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
In the remaining 8 minutes, hours flown past, baby. We got just 8. Just
hey,
8
shout out to Z-Chan, by the way. I didn't say thank you, but thank you. Well, no, we read his question. I just didn't say thank you, and I wanted to thank him for it. And let him know that I have a root canal coming up on Thursday. I'm pretty excited.
Very excited. You going to go see Z-Chan for the root canal?
No, I should. I bet he'd give me a discount from what I'm having to pay. So not excited about it.
So the procedure's on Thursday?
Yeah.
Are you going to get put under like on Wednesday? Like what are the stages of anesthesia you need after your reaction to a cleaning?
Yeah, no, I need to. I'm going to drink all day Wednesday and still be drunk.
Dehydrated. Yeah.
I'm going to be drunk when I show up, and then they give me the gas, hopefully, and I just go out like a light for an hour.
My son is having a minor procedure where he has to be under for surgery tomorrow. So I'm thinking shout out to Bryce as I can tell a little nervous.
Thinking about you, Bryce.
Yeah, thanks. So I figuring out content for tomorrow, guys. I want to give you a heads up. Not real sure. I'm not just to the audience. We'll see. I obviously want to be there for him while that's going on. So Tom and I are trying to work it out. We'll get something up on the old podcast at least. But I'm going to be there for his surgery. So it's nothing awful.
By the way, it's always fun to watch other parents parent. And so I got a little glimpse at Jeff Cameron, how he runs the ship when we were in Orlando. Jeff was with Bryce and Clark, and we were walking back to the hotel. And Clark, Clark's a kid. He's a how old's Clark?
12.
He's a 12-year-old boy. So if you've been around 12-year-old boys, Corey, you've been around a 12-year-old boy, your son Brady. Yeah. They don't always just kind of toe the line.
No,
that's not really their thing is 12-year-old boys.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff, man, is not having it. is not. Bryce is past all that.
Yeah.
Bryce is just becoming a mature young man.
Yeah, well adjusted. Yeah.
And Clark's still a 12-year-old boy. And so Jeff, man, it's just funny because I didn't raise boys, so I have a little different perspective.
We got to beat him, Ira. I mean, you got to beat him. No,
awesome.
I the way you're describing this is apt, but I don't want people to get the wrong perspective. I did not lay my hands on Clark.
You didn't hit him.
No.
But
you laid your feet on him.
The tone was what you're referencing when he did something stupid. And I had to address the stupidity in the moment.
We're thinking of you, Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce was great. And, well, also though, you see the freedom the boys had in Orlando, right? Just run free, boys. Yeah, it's a safe world out there. Just protect yourself.
Yeah, you were in Harry Buffalo for 2.5 hours, and I never saw them.
They were running the streets.
Yeah.
I told him, hey, you're gonna get bored here. Go check out the action. See what's going on. See if you can gamble with somebody. Go do something. But they, what they ended up doing? They went over there to where Orlando plays. What is it? The Amway Center, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And they found the old NBA Jams game that is free for people who enter the building, and it was a non-game day, so there were only 2 people there. They played NBA Jams in the lobby for free for like an hour and a half and bet each other on 7-game series, and I thought that is awesome.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good day.
Yeah, I would have done that too. Hell, I'd done that right now.
If I had known that was there,
you and I would have been going to more NBA Jams. Yeah. So that said, we'll see about tomorrow's content. Anyhow, back to this content and what Florida State has in the way of expectations. I don't know. We've had several people ask about the Jared Verse situation. I said just a moment ago that I think that's going to turn out well for Florida State. As far as specifics of the hour in which that announcement's going to take place, well, I'm going to guess that the Seminole Headlines curse is going to take place today, guys, in a good way. We are going to wrap up the show. There will be no news whatsoever. So when people go back and listen to this, it will seem dated because at, 8 o'clock tonight, the rest of the Seminole Nation will be celebrating Jared Verse's return, and we would not have talked about it.
What would you recommend to Jared Verse if Corey, if he called you this afternoon and asked you for advice? What do you think he should do?
Well, as a member of Warchant.com, I'd say, buddy, you got to come back. What are you doing? The NFL will always be there.
What if it wasn't for your affiliation with our website?
If he was like my family?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the grade, though, Corey. Answer that carefully. It depends on the grade, right? Second?
What's the feedback he's getting? I think if he was told he's a surefire second-round pick, I would say, dude, you're only a sophomore. You've got even risk injury. You can take out insurance policies, but you have a chance to be a top 10 pick next year. There's a play he made in that Oklahoma game where he chases down the running back that gets around him on the edge. I think he ended up tackling him short of the first down. Now they got it on the next play anyway, but there aren't 5 defensive ends in the country that could have run that kid down. And obviously the sack he had at the end of the game. There's some special stuff in there that I think if he played a full mostly injury-free year on a top 10 team, you're talking about a guy that could be talked about as an All-American, could be talked about as not only a first-round pick, but a top 10 pick. And now you're talking about the difference between $7 million, which who even wants $7 million? What are we doing there? At some point, give me a break.
What's the point?
What's the point? Or $25 million. That's an enormous difference. And I think, and also he'd get paid to come back here. It's not like he's playing for free.
That you got to bring up. Yeah, that's the part that's an additive to the conversation that we never used to have. Now it's that, hey, look, man, you can take out insurance, as you said. And let's say you got a mid-second round grade and you do have the ability to jump millions, plural, of dollars if you have a good season and you come back and get drafted into the first round, which we all think he will have a great season and come back and make it into the first round because he's knocking on the door right now. But the other part of that is you have a collective who's ponied up clearly and made it possible for kids to weigh that option a little bit more in-depthly and seriously. You can't help but think, just throwing it out there, that that's a guy that would be one of the more highly paid roster retention players that we've seen in this offseason. He maybe not Jordan Travis money, but pretty close, right? So if that's the case, we know that basically that's over $100,000. I'll just leave it at that. It's well over $100,000. It's a nice viable option to fall back on if you come back for a season. Let's say it's $500,000. Which very well may be.
The one area where cheating SEC coaches were missing out for all those years.
Yeah.
It's like they were steady paying high school players, getting bag men.
Roster retention, baby.
To bring in recruits. You didn't have enough of that. Like when the guys were thinking about going pro, where was that cheating? Like, why weren't they doing that back in the day?
That's where the game is, Ira. The proven commodities is where the game is. And I also can't wait till next year in the parking lot outside the Moore Center, where it's going to look like an NFL parking lot. There's going to be Lambos, Ferraris, electric Porsches. Like it's going to be incredible. It's going to look like a classic car lot.
Or maybe we're wrong. Do you think like when Joakim Noah and that whole group came back at Florida, do you think that there were incentives to
paid
come
handsomely?
Back? Do you think
it would have been it would have been a very wise investment for all involved? If you were a Florida alumnus who cares deeply about championships and you paid that team to come back, look at that. You won another one. If you're Billy Donovan and you wanted to elevate your stock, reach into your wallet, baby.
Billy Donovan's the one that should be paying. Maybe Norvell's paying Travis and Verse. Adam Fuller should pay Verse. And also, I bring this up all the time, but people hear like $500,000 compared to whatever, $4 million. Understand that Jared Verse gets to live rent-free and gets to be fed for free. You get lodging and food for free.
And also, he already has a deal with a local car dealership, so his car is free too.
Right.
He's not paying for his car. He's not paying for housing. He's not paying for food.
Corey will pay for his gas.
I mean, hell, $500,000 will get you a long way when you don't have bills.
Exactly. There are no bills to pay. There's no electric bills. There's no mortgage, phone bills.
Yeah.
Plus, he, again, I just think that he's a guy. He has so much upside if he polishes things up to some degree, like Johnny Wilson. That those are guys that if there are things that they can do to become elite draft picks.
And that's the difference between Jamie and Fabian, right? Jamie Robinson, what else could he prove?
Right.
I don't think Fabian Lovett necessarily. He is guaranteed of getting paid to play football next year. Jamie, so I think that I know they're different examples, but Jamie Robinson had nothing left to prove. I don't think he could have played his way into any higher.
It would have made zero sense for Jamie Robinson to come back. Zero. I was happy when he announced it.
Fabian Lovett can come back and increase and enhance his stock, but what's his ceiling might only be third or fourth round. No matter if he leaves this year or next year.
Jared Verse has a higher ceiling than anybody.
Correct, and it's not close. It's not close. So that Fabian Lovett gets paid to play football and gets to live rent-free for a year.
That's good work, Matthew. Good work, Kevin Johnson.
Kevin, you win, buddy. That is really good.
Absolutely.
And on that note, I'll turn Corey off. I'll turn Ira off. We'll go to break. We'll answer questions. But Kevin writes, Corey will pay for his gas if Jared promises to accompany him on all gas station visits in town.
I need it.
He is definitely afraid to get gas if it's dusk or later. That is the end of it for him. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with Seminole Headlines returns in a moment.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Car accident? Call 777-7777 for Basic Brooks.
Siri, tell me a joke. The past, present, and future walk into a bar. It was tense.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
Every day, Sellers makes life a little better for homeowners, helping them find the best design ideas for their homes with the best quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring. Even mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions are at their fingertips in their remarkable showroom. Maybe it's time for you to get the Sellers Advantage for your home or office. Find them on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com. For style, quality, and design, get the Sellers Advantage. In Tallahassee, call 656-8453.
Let me tell you what T-Spark stands for. It stands for strength, commitment, teamwork, and heart. We don't ever quit until we've got nothing left to give. Our team is unstoppable. Want a guaranteed win? Call T-Spark Enterprises for your next roofing or construction project. We conquer all peaks. TSparkConstruction.com. License number CCC 1331204.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas to put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, bodies, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFD, Greta, Tallahassee. Your sports update with Mike Sennett.
In for Mike Sennett, I'm Matt Pauley. Tampa Bay Lightning hockey, they get back at it tonight. They match up against the Blackhawks. The Lightning and bring a 3-game winning streak into tonight's game. Also, rookie defenseman Nick Perbix has agreed to a $2.25 million 2-year contract extension. He has 3 goals and has 5 assists with a +8 in 29 games this season. Again, the Lightning and the Blackhawks tonight. Also tonight, the Panthers are going to match up against Arizona. In the NBA, the Miami Heat beat the Clippers yesterday 110-100. They'll return to action on Wednesday in LA when they take on the Lakers, while the Orlando Magic, they play on Wednesday against Oklahoma City. Download the Score app today, lightning fast sports alerts, so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. I'm Matt Pauley with the Sports Flash, powered by the Score app on Tallahassee's Real Talk station, Real Talk 93.3.
This report is sponsored by Kelley Blue Book. Finding the right vehicle can be a daunting task for car shoppers, especially when there are hundreds of different models to choose from. Auto expert Brian Moody will unveil top new car models from a variety of categories, including the 2023 Best New Model winner.
I'll be revealing the best new model winner, the latest auto trends, and sharing how the industry is responding to consumers' need for choice, variety, and sustainability.
The Kelley Blue Book Best Buy Awards are the culmination of a year-long regimen of expert vehicle evaluation and testing. Whether your transportation needs include traditional gas-powered vehicles, hybrids, plug-in hybrids, or pure electrics, there's a wide range of vehicles available in today's market. As a trusted resource for helping car shoppers find the right vehicle at the right price for more than 95 years, Kelley Blue Book created the Best Buy Awards to aid new car shoppers in narrowing down their consideration list so they can purchase their next vehicle with confidence. For more information, visit kbb.com.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did. Happy holidays.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise.
I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
It's time for Seminole Headlines, featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Hour number 2, Seminole Headlines, headliner questions forthcoming. As always, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Happy New Year, everybody. Good to be with you. Ira's in studio with me. Corey Clark's in Atlanta in his kitchen. I don't know if he's in his kitchen or not, but he's somewhere. He's somewhere close, and now he's here. And here we go. And we'll get to headliner questions right after we say thank you to Dr. Birch and Birch Orthodontics. Best in the business by far. It's not close. It's really not debatable. Some things are debatable. This isn't one of them. And we thank Dr. Birch, who I had a good conversation with before the new year, before the bowl game, as my son got his braces adjusted. Things are going swimmingly with the youngest one. Things are going really well. In fact, I'd almost argue that he likes his braces. It's a weird thing to say, but he kind of likes them. He got the Christmas colored braces, Ira. He's got red and green. I don't know if you noticed that.
Nice.
Yeah. So he did. Now, next time they may change the color. I don't know. But that's the kind of fun and games you can have at Birch Orthodontics. Just change up your teeth.
Just looking at Matthew's interchanges on the chat. But anyway, birchorthodontics.com is the website. And, again, we feel like the football program's now on Dr. Birch's level, which is nice. We like to see that, because Dr. Birch has been holding it down. All of our kids have gotten their teeth fixed there. A lot of our friends and coworkers and other people as well. Go to birchorthodontics.com, set up the website, or set up a free consultation. They have payment plans, best in the business, latest techniques, and you won't be disappointed.
Ira, did you put out the call? Did you put out the siren call on Twitter?
So here's the deal.
Oh my God! What?
Desperately looking for it, right? You saw me.
So here's the situation. I actually remembered last night,
like 1 a.m,
or 10 minutes after
the incident
on the field. And the
so you couldn't be like,
game.
"Hey kids, let's get to some headliner questions."
So it was about 9 o'clock, I guess, whenever it was 9:30, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I need to send it." But I was at the time I was watching.
Yeah, a sad thing.
Just awful.
Yeah.
And then I ended up staying in. So I was like, well, maybe I'll do it in the morning.
Yeah,
and
but you dropped the ball in the morning.
Didn't do it in the morning.
No.
I actually sent myself an email reminding myself to do it in the morning. Did Corey do it on Facebook?
He did.
Good work, Corey.
Of course Corey did.
Yeah, Corey, you probably sent that out, 3 days ago, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
man. I'm on the ball. I care about our listeners, I guess.
Hey, let's get to those questions that we have here. Here we go. I could see. I mean, you had to have been wondering, why is he staring so intently at his screen? You had to know I was scrolling, Ira, and desperately searching.
It crossed my mind.
Yeah. Ted writes, fellas, Happy New Year. Who do you like to take Woodson's place? I have no idea. We have discussed this. We have kind of thrown it around out there. A lot of times when you give educated guesses, I can name 10 guys. We did this yesterday. Ira and I were talking, and I rattled off like 4 or 5 names of coaches that people know and like, and everybody's got an opinion about a coach and who they'd like to see. But a lot of this is born out of relationships, previous relationships and existing relationships. And it's hard for me to track Mike in that way. So I don't know who he'd be interested in. And also, I would like to know what the timetable is on that replacement, because, what is the date on the coaches convention when they all get together and it becomes a who's who of, hey, hire me moments?
That's a good question. I think it's in mid-January, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right. Yeah.
I would have thought they'd do it in conjunction with the championship game.
No, that's what they do in basketball. In basketball, they do the Final Fours when all the coaches are doing their deal. But, yeah, in football, it's not.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what his timetable is. And I don't know if he wants to wait until he has an opportunity to talk to some coaches that he's had his eye on that are already in a situation, or maybe they're looking. And everybody's got to be real careful when you have a job, but maybe you want a different job. Or certainly for Mike, maybe he's already reached out and begun the process. We just don't know.
I vote T-Buck. I bet he'd come, and because I know he's the head coach of.
He's going to give up $600,000 a year in the XFL.
You think he's getting that?
Well, they announced his contract. It's over $500,000.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're really trying to go up the coaching ladder, which he might be, I don't know. I feel like the DB coach at a top 10 school probably does better than the head coach at the XFL.
He's the head coach. He's not
in the
gonna work.
XFL.
Two
In the
things,
XFL.
Two things, though. Number one, that league starts like now. Like
he's
he
already
would be
committed.
walking out right now, and they're about to start. And the other thing is, I think he's really excited. I interviewed him when he took the job. He's really excited about proving he can be a head coach. One of the things that really frustrated him about the process of in college football was he couldn't get a sniff of defensive coordinator jobs because for whatever reason, there's a perception that corners are cornerback coaches and that safeties become defensive coordinators. And that's just an institutional thing in this sport, much like offensive coordinators being quarterbacks, coaches, and all that. So he was excited about proving he could be a head coach. So I think he's excited about the opportunity. I think T-Buck would have been a great choice 3 years ago when Mike Norvell got the job and he didn't go that route. I don't think that's what's going to happen right now.
And I also think that, for that matter, that, hey, look, man, if you're a head coach.
By the way, the AFCA convention is actually this weekend. It's
well, here you go, guys.
The 8th to 10th in Charlotte, North Carolina this year.
Charlotte. So it's not really in conjunction with the championship game at all.
No, yeah, I think a lot of years, for some reason, it's in Texas a lot of times.
All right.
But yeah, it's in Charlotte this weekend.
Well, let's hold our breath, guys. We got this weekend. Mike's over there talking to every DC in America or every DB in America, DB coach in America. So, yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see. All right, let's get back to these questions. Marion writes, "Happy New Year, compadres." Jeff, Corey said you now love Orlando. Is this true? If so, were you drunk the entire trip? Actually,
it grew on you though a little bit. I felt like.
It definitely did. I'll answer the question here thoroughly to give you the answer. And by the way, just so you know, I wasn't drunk not once in Orlando, not even mildly so. Ira, you saw me.
What was going on?
Well, I had my kids. Tried to be.
They were busy. They had a video game to play.
Responsible human being. Actually, I left after the meet and greet.
Yeah.
At the same time you were leaving, so that was relatively early in the night.
You know who wasn't leaving?
Not Corey Clark.
Corey and Stephanie were shutting it down.
And they were going to be there until 2. You could see the look on their faces. And then, in addition, the kids were hungry and they wanted to go get something to eat. So we went to this corner Italian restaurant. It was delicious. Had a great time there. It was wonderful. And then we were done. It was like 9:30. I was tired. We had a long day the next day. I just went to bed, watched some football and went to bed. That's how that went. So I say with all sincerity and sobriety to Corey earlier in the night that I've come around on Orlando. It's grown up a lot.
I'm going to say 90% of the comments I got from people, because a lot of the people there were Orlando area residents, people
that's right
from areas around there or from Orlando. And 90% of the people started off by saying, I know Jeff hates Orlando, but and some of them agreed with you with some of your concerns.
There are aspects of Orlando that are disconcerting that have stayed omnipresent every time I talk about Orlando in my psyche. Like it comes into my being like, they're like, oh, now hold on, Jeff, you also hate this. Yeah. But I will tell you that there are a lot of improvements that have been made in the Orlando area since I last immersed myself in the good times of Orlando. I'd kind of made a decision on Orlando going all the way back. Corey, was that 94 when Florida State beat Notre Dame in Orlando? Was that
correct?
the Danny Cannell game?
Yep.
Yeah, I went with my father the year. In fact, there's a picture of me down on the field with my dad, and I'm wearing the 93 national championship shirt.
Bringing up the dad stuff.
Yeah, just saying. Yeah.
I was there with my dad too, Ira. My dad. That was back when my dad was alive.
All of your dads were alive at that time. We were all So
they were.
I'm bringing back better times, and so there we were. And it was at that time that I thought this Orlando. This isn't. And by the way, that stadium is ass. It's an ass stadium.
Great.
Let's be honest about it.
It continues to be.
It's an ass stadium. It was an ass 94 years ago. In 1994, it's still ass. And so anyhow, long story short, and then I went back like 3 or 4 more times, and every time I was like, this isn't my cup of tea. But I was duly impressed this time around. And I'll tell you, not only that, I felt bad because a lot of people, they didn't get that there is a tongue-in-cheek nature to this. There's a little. I mean, I'm playing the part up
like
a little bit.
Like when Corey would talk about Shreveport. He didn't really.
I love Shreveport. I love the Shreve. Are you kidding me? That was all a joke.
I don't love El Paso, and I'll stand by that.
But I will say this, to your point.
Yeah.
they're going to be back there in a few months.
Well, we're going to be back there.
We're going to be back there in a few months.
Yeah.
And it was awesome meeting so many cool.
Very cool.
We're not going to shout out all of you, but there were a
cool.
lot of really cool people we met that live in that area that came in for the game. And I look forward to that, man.
It felt like a dry run for the opener. And you're not dreading it. You're not dreading going to Orlando in 8 months. You're looking forward to it.
Do you know, this is how much I'm not dreading it, guys. I, on the way home, had my son looking at Airbnbs in the area. I wanted to rent out a big-ass house for all of us and have a big to-do. Daddy's going to grill by the pool.
Make your risotto.
We got a slide. We got things. I mean, I was looking for stuff like, hey, guys, let's do this right. Let's do it up right. Let's be here for a few days. Let's get after it. Have a good time in Orlando. We'll Uber from the rich neighborhood where I rent the house from, guys. This is going to be a to-do, right?
Hey,
we should
all
do
right,
this.
man. All right. I'm down.
That's what I'm just letting you know. That's how far I've come on Orlando. Here I am making these grandiose plans.
And now read these Facebook questions really slowly since we don't have any Twitter. We don't have any Twitter questions.
We're allowed to expound our answers like never before.
Yeah. We're not rifling through them this time.
Yeah. Gator Kirk writes, Happy New Year's. Thank you for great entertainment and content. May the upcoming year be the best for all of you. Oh, man. Gator Kirk's solid as a rock every week.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gator Kirk.
That guy. Thank you so much, buddy. Sean writes, David Hale posted this after our bowl game. I wanted your thoughts on it. This is the second most yards FSU's defense has allowed in the past 28 games. He brought up 2022 Louisville, 2022 Oklahoma, 2021 Wake Forest. Yeah, and the good news is some changes have been made already, Sean, and I think they will continue to upgrade as we move forward. And as the players get better, those numbers will bear that out. I do think in the modern game it's worth repeating. Just watch Georgia give up 41 points and should have lost to Ohio State. If you face an elite offense, you're giving up points. You pretty much are giving up points against elite offenses. The game is built for scoring. The rules are in place to ensure that offenses have a distinct advantage over defenses. That said, you're allowed to get a stop. You're allowed to be good against good offenses on occasion. And Florida State really hasn't been. So that's the next step.
Right.
You know, have a good day against Wake Forest. Have a good day against Clemson. Have a good day against teams that have shown a pulse on offense.
The problem I had with the defense this year was really two games. It was the Clemson game, because I don't think that is not an elite offense, but you made them kind of look like one for that 10-minute stretch. And then Florida too. But when you look at the Florida game and especially the Oklahoma game, like we talked about earlier, I don't know that they were out schemed, man. They couldn't stop the run. Fabian Lovett didn't play. They're not special on the interior. And they don't have a lot of depth this year, 2022.
They also didn't do a good job of holding the edge whatsoever.
Correct.
The edge.
Correct. This defense coming up isn't the defense we saw in Orlando. Fabian Lovett will be there. Fisk will be there. Daryl Jackson will be there. You're going to have, Daniel Lyons might be the truth. I mean, who knows? You're going to have so much more depth on the interior. I don't foresee it being so easy to run against this defense, which Louisville ran all over you up the middle. Florida ran all over you up the middle.
Yeah, and I touched on it in my column. You're without two of your top four defensive tackles, because not only Fabian Lovett, but Jared Jackson bailed to transfer before the bowl game as well. So he's in that rotation. And then you talk about the injuries they had during the course of that game.
Yeah,
they lost a ton of guys during that game. And Oklahoma, I know like people looked at the record and assumed they have the guys they played at running back were guys Florida State would have loved to have had and didn't get.
Yeah, well, I watched a ton of Oklahoma football. That's why they were maddening this year. It was never for a dearth of talent. Right. They're loaded. It is year one, and he had to run off some kids that were unhappy, and so you have that in year one in a transformation. But they weren't lacking talent. Dylan Gabriel's a good quarterback. Yes. They have talent. That said, though, Florida State has consistently given up a lot of yards and points to good offenses. They just they have
like most teams in college football. You want more than that.
Well, no. Come on, you can
watch who's holding people to under 20 points a game.
Tennessee against Clemson without a problem. And by the way, lots of people held Clemson down.
If DJ had played against Florida State,
didn't.
Yeah, but how was that? Tennessee did it, or DJ?
No, you said who? I gave you a quick example. Plenty of teams held Clemson's offense down this year. Not this team.
Clemson played a really good game. DJ made throws in that game that he didn't make in these other games. Against Tennessee, DJ just threw the ball into the ground. If he had done that against Florida State,
didn't play.
You're thinking of
not Tennessee. What was the other game?
No,
when he
I'm
played
giving.
when he got benched.
South Carolina.
North Carolina.
I just gave you an example of one that just happened. Tennessee's sorry ass defense dominated Clemson's offense. I'm saying that
because Clemson's coaching staff decided to throw a freshman quarterback making his first start 58 times in that game.
Clemson just got done playing exceptionally well.
Yeah, off the bench. Man, you don't think
I don't even know that y'all are arguing. I don't even know what y'all are arguing about.
Well, I think your point is that teams are holding teams down to 24 or less, and that isn't happening in college football.
There are plenty of teams that have good Saturdays against good offenses. They don't always give up a gazillion points.
I agree with you on that.
I mean, there are
Florida State's defense could be better than it is.
Thank you. We're in agreement.
It isn't like it's been bad or even.
Here's the thing. Here's what I want to know. I think because Florida State will have one of the 5 best offenses in the country next year, in my opinion, if you get some injury luck and everything else. I think if this defense is just good, doesn't have to be sensational.
No, I don't need them to be great. They can get better.
If it's good or even what it was this year, when you take a step back and look at the totality of the numbers, you're talking about an 11-win team. You're talking about an 11-2.
I think we all agree on that.
Yeah, but that's a good place to be.
I think they're going to be good regardless because most of the people that they play next year on the schedule, they can outscore. So even if they don't get great on defense, they're going to have an elite offense. And for the most part, they're going to score in the high 30s, right? Maybe.
And for the most part, if you're going to get great on defense, your guys have to look like Georgia's guys.
Correct.
Like Florida State hasn't had that level of talent.
Right. And I think that we need to get to that place. I also think, and I've talked about this before, that secondary, and now they've made a change. So I'm not going to be angry about it. They made a change. They can be better. They can be taught better. They can be put in better positions to succeed. I've wanted that. It's going to happen. We'll see who they hire. I agree. I think this is nuanced. It always is. I don't think that being an elite defense guarantees you get stops against elite offenses anymore.
Right.
See Georgia against Ohio State. They couldn't stop them if they wanted to.
Or Michigan.
Michigan, right. Yeah. I agree that if you're facing an elite offense, you're going to give up points. The rules are in place for that. I do think you're allowed to get stops against average to good offenses more consistently than Florida State does. And I think that's a fair thing to say as well.
I agree with that.
It's not a good look for that defense that every time they played an offense that was considered pretty good or real good, they were going to give up a ton of points.
Where I get frustrated, though, sometimes is there seems to be such an emphasis on the defense when at halftime of that game, all the mentions I had on Twitter
were the offense.
And we're all about the defense when the offense had 11 points.
Yeah.
And against a horrible defense.
The NC State game and the Wake Forest game, everybody talking. Man, those games are lost on offense.
Yeah.
As much as they were defense, but it seems like everybody wants to focus on the defense. The offense has to play better against good opponents too. They did in the second half.
They did.
But they're fortunate they didn't get too far behind like they did against Wake Forest or they did against Clemson. Because those games they got dug in a hole because the offense didn't do anything in the first half.
Yeah, I thought the first half you saw a very conservative offensive game plan from Mike, and I thought that was interesting because they were losing the line of scrimmage in the run game. So I thought, Mike, you're gonna have to throw it a lot here. Let's get to the throwing. I mean, and I'm not one of these guys who's like after every play call, bad call, good call, that kind of thing. They were losing physically at the line of scrimmage, and Oklahoma committed extra player in the box to stop the run, which was smart because they came into the game and said, "Screw this, you ain't running on us." And that's smart. Like if I were playing Florida State next year, you're not going to line up and run 200 yards on me because then I have no chance to beat you. I didn't understand why more teams didn't line up and say, "Screw this, beat me through the air." Now Jordan has proven he can, but this was a show and prove kind of year for him. I would have made every good defense or every defense period facing Florida State next year ought to try and shut down the run because if you let us run, this is over. You're going to take an ass beat.
Yeah.
Now we have a pick of the litter.
The beauty though is it's pick your poison, right? Like good. Stop the run. Then he'll throw for 400 yards on you.
But
and
make
also,
the decision to do that a little sooner.
Yeah,
That's all we're kind of saying.
And, with when it comes to the Florida game too, like Florida State didn't run all that well traditionally against Florida either. Like that was a lot of Jordan Travis running the ball. They did their traditional running game didn't look great the last 2 games of the season, and their run defense didn't look good at all the last 2 games of the season. Good news is you won both of them. And you got better on both lines of scrimmage.
Which is why we have such high expectations for next year.
You went to the portal and got the best offensive lineman in the country. You went to the portal and got the best defensive lineman in the country. Good stuff. That's what you wanted to do.
It absolutely is. And it's why, again, those expectations are going to be ratcheted up and we're going to nitpick because that's what you do when you're trying to win championships is you find these little areas that could cost you a game of critical importance against another elite team.
The house ain't on fire anymore. Now we want better drapes.
We care about the drapes.
Yeah. What color are those drapes, Ira? Answer me. The house isn't on fire. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment. It is always good to see you, Eddie. Had a long day, my man. I was thinking about it. Gordo's was the place to ease the pain. You know, you're frustrated with your job, your aggravated life's beating you down. Maybe your wife's speaking. You got to get out the door.
You know what? Here at Gordo's, man, we welcome everybody. Disgruntled wives, disgruntled husbands, kids running away from home. We'll even give that kid a job. Send them our way.
Go make some money and eat delicious food at Gordo's. It's perfect.
And have a damn good time doing it.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996. If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, turn up the volume and listen to this. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a hometown hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, he will waive all lender fees for all hometown heroes. That's a $1,600 value right out of the gate. Also, if you decide to use their preferred title company for their closing, you'll be saving another $600. That's $2,200 in discounts right off the top. That's like 20 tanks of gas in your car. And today, more than ever, it's important to save as much money as you can, wherever you can. So if you or someone you know is active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher and looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young, Legendary Home Loans, and ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
What you've heard about probiotics is probably wrong. I eat yogurt, so I don't need to take a probiotic.
Probiotics? They don't really work.
It's time to learn the truth about probiotics and join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up. Align has probiotics to naturally help relieve occasional bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. Try Align probiotics for a month and see how great a healthy gut can feel. Get $2 off your first month of Align at alignprobiotics.com.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just one dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did. Happy holidays.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants. Can too. To find a store that carries registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
It's a new year and a new you, so give yourself a fresh start with MyBookie. Whether you bet to earn or to make the games more exciting, MyBookie gives you the most for your money with their redesigned deposit bonus. Just use promo code WARCHANT. That's right, promo code WARCHANT on a deposit of $50 or more to receive a cash bonus instantly to your MyBookie account. Using this bonus is simple. Bet your deposit amount just one time, not two, and you're ready to cash out. It's no strings attached with MyBookie. But on the NFL, UFC, or play for a share of big cash prizes in the weekly online blackjack tournaments. So many brands to choose from. You need a platform that makes it simple to bet and win, like MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. All right, there you
go. Good work.
Sometimes I get a little stressed about that, guys. There's a lot of pressure on me. I'm in the arena. Everybody's listening carefully. It's like I'm getting ready to sing the national anthem or something. You know, there's a lot of pressure there.
Jeff, Corey, and I should just sit there like we're fans. Like at the end of our
got it.
He's got this. It's a perfect pitch.
Get through this thing. Michael writes, what a wonderful time of year in honor of my wife getting one of Register Sausage free sausage giveaways after the game last week.
Boom.
I want to know what you think was Norvell's swinging big sausage moment of the season.
Oh.
Okay. All right. The pre-read is something I should endeavor to do occasionally.
The stuff we don't get on Twitter.
Was it the flea flicking win versus LSU? Oh, the flea flicker.
The flea flicker.
That's right. The thrashing of Miami, which will always ring true. Or maybe something in the presser like his diatribe to Corey or 4th and 14 the previous season. Well, we don't go back to previous seasons for this year's Big Sausage Award. We got to go to this year. And I don't know, 45-3 against Miami?
Yeah. Do you feel are we talking about a play call, you think? Or are we talking about the
then it's
overall?
The flea flicker, of course. But
the man, that's a tough one. I would say the game, Miami is one thing because it was just a complete annihilation. I still think one of my favorite wins of the season was this next week at Syracuse. That's when I thought, oh man, this team is good. Like they figured out this isn't normal what they're doing. They're just crushing this team. This is a bowl team. And after an emotional game to go up there and play just as well the next week and annihilate them early, that was a big sausage swinging moment, I thought, for the entire team.
I thought, you know what? I like the 2-point conversion in the last game. I thought that was nice. It was.
Were you slightly concerned when they walked out there to do it? I was thinking, come on, Mike.
It's a little early, maybe.
Gate.
A little early for all that, but you know what, man? I think there's the game will probably be Miami because again, I just
has to be right.
And Corey wrote about it in his 10 plays thing.
What number was that one, Corey?
The Jamie Robinson play.
Oh, okay,
was,
yeah.
You know, him
punk ass to the ground. Yeah.
I saw. I guess when Jamie announced he was going pro, that might have been in one of the highlights, or so. I saw that somewhere recently.
He'd be on a loop in my house if you entered it. If I were him,
and it's just amazing. Yeah. And the fact that it happened against Miami is perfect because now it'll be shown every time they play, like the Roscoe Parrish hit.
Oh, it's beautiful. You're right. That's fair. Yeah, the whole Miami game. It was great. They were they wanted to believe. Miami fans did. They wanted to believe, and that was quickly disillusioned.
I think I'm going to go back to Syracuse real quick. After that big fat defensive tackle had the tackle for loss at the goal line, and then hip thrusted towards the Florida State.
And Mike's like, okay, all right.
And then Mike's like, okay, well, I got a Noles special for you. And you're about to see another touchdown. I thought that was a
good one. Yeah.
I like what it reveals. I like the nastiness there. That's good. You should have that. Kristen writes, over/under game days for FSU in 2023 at 2.5. Is LSU FSU game day week 1? Got to be, right?
Yeah, it's 2
Has anybody looked up week 1? Has anybody looked up week 1? I haven't done it yet. There's got to be another great game out there. But this would be, that's going to be high. Do we think that's about all 2 top 10 teams?
I think it will be. Yeah, I really like I like that LSU did what they did.
Yeah,
because again, nobody's going to be sleeping on them. And Florida State they ended the season with 6 straight wins.
Yeah, the lasting impression of both these teams is really, really good, and that will affect the preseason rankings. The season that they had will too, obviously, but they both ended on a high note. Florida State with 6 straight wins. And even if that is a 6-6 Oklahoma team, it's OU. People watch that game. It's one of the better bowl games of the season. And then, of course, LSU just did whatever they wanted to against Purdue and had a great season. So I would think,
look at returning rosters. I mean, there's just a lot of star players. Yeah, they're definitely.
Although it's a Sunday game, so it's probably not going to be game day. Game day is going to be on a Saturday. I would say the over. I would definitely take the under on that, just because the schedule isn't. It's not a lot of juggernauts on the schedule, unless Southern Miss is better than we think or something crazy.
At least if you're a top 10 team, if they win the LSU game, you're at least in position because you're in position when you play Clemson. We don't know where that's going to fall yet, but there's going to be some opportunities. If you're not a top 10 team, you're not going to be on game day.
My guess is that Florida State Clemson will be a game day experience. Yeah, if Clemson doesn't completely implode and Florida State even if Florida State has one loss, say to LSU, if that happened, if they were to lose that game, which is a toss-up game as we sit here today, then I think that would probably still be 2 top 15 teams. So That could be one. And I think that ESPN and other organizations like it when they know that they're on the cusp of watching somebody usurp somebody else and become the more dominant figure. And Florida State is a huge brand. Brent writes, I thought of this, Brent. I said it to my buddy out loud. Do you think Marvin Harrison Sr. has put a contract out on the Georgia DB that knocked his son out of the bowl game?
Crossed my mind,
Is
too.
he going to take care of it himself? Yeah, the first thing I thought of was, ooh, I don't know if I'd have done that.
Yeah, he went into hiding. He hasn't been at practice the last 4 days.
And by the way, if you're going to do that, that's the right guy to get out of there because I think Ohio State wins if he continues to play.
Hey, man, it was a legal hit, too, by the way.
They had no answers. They had no answers for him. I mean, that kid is a freak, not shockingly. But that was really good timing. Like, I don't like to admit to rooting for my favorite players on my favorite team to knock out pivotal players on the other team. But I'm just wondering, Corey, if in that moment you felt a little bit better about your chances.
Yeah, when the best player on the team got knocked out.
On the field.
Yeah.
Was just knocked out of the game.
I thought Georgia might have a chance. I will say this. When you talk about the difference in talent level and championship rosters,
yes,
there's nobody else in the country that makes the play that Brock Bowers made to turn that into a first down. The game is over. It's 4th and 5. They're down 10 in the fourth quarter. He throws a 3-yard pass.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers defies gravity and physics to somehow have his legs above the air as he's reaching out to barely get that first down. That's
those are freaks. They have freaks. There's no doubt.
That's how small the difference can be between wins and losses at this time.
Marvin Harrison having a 6'4" son just doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, because you knew the smooth transition and route was already going to be in play.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Who's the mom? Is it Rebecca Lobo?
Might be there.
Not somebody that I'm going to talk to because I don't want Marvin to get the wrong idea.
Well played.
David writes, I need a cocky Nole gauge, scale 1 to 10 recommendation. Post 10 wins, bowl victory, times recruits, forecasted win divided by forecasted wins in 2023 equals cocky factor. If you exceed I'm not doing all of this. He says, I'm thinking 8.9. What say you?
Just for the fan base in general?
The greater number than 2, then you eat a lot of crow, all this other stuff if we're off by 2. Yeah, for the fan base in general, it's got to be well over 8.9.
For the confidence level?
For total
out of 10?
wins. Yeah.
Oh, is it total wins or 1 to 10?
You're right. You could do it out of wins, but you're right. You should do it out of cockiness level 1 to 10. He says 8.9.
I would think it's a little lower than that. I think Florida State fans are very, very excited, but I don't know that they're thinking, yeah, baby, championship, because it's been a long time coming. I think they're cautiously very, very optimistic.
How do we define our terms on this? Is 10 out of 10 we have to win a championship or bust the way that Georgia was a year ago?
10 out of 10 is where Florida State fans were after the 13 season.
Yes.
Jameis coming back, all those dudes coming back. Yeah. You're thinking, man, this is going to be a cakewalk. And then every week was a nail biter.
They did go undefeated, though.
They did.
Until they got to the playoff, yes. But, I mean, 8.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're going to win. Well, Ira, you called for them to win the ACC championship. And if they win the ACC championship, they're going to be a top 10 team. So,
yeah, but I think Corey's right. I mean, I'm trying to go back to thinking what the mindset was like after 2012. Because I didn't feel like it was as high as you would think it would have been.
No, you just didn't know about the quarterback. Yeah. You'd heard all the wonderful stories. I've told the story before. I was in a charity golf tournament, and we were talking to coaches on the staff, and as part of that tournament, and they were like, "Well, we'll see how he does with the lights turned on. He's immensely talented, but we don't know what he's going to do in a game." And then the pick game happened.
Right? Yeah, but also you didn't know Kelvin Benjamin was going to be that either. That was a huge factor in that. Kelvin Benjamin hadn't been that in 12, and then he turned into one of the best receivers in the country that season. So that helped.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things where you knew, hey, look, if you care to play, nobody can guard you. If you care to play, nobody can guard you. Let me get one more before the break here. Hassan writes, fellas, Happy New Year. Was I the only one that thought maybe Johnny Wilson played too good in that bowl game? I know he signed with Rising Spear, but haven't read anything saying that he's definitely coming back. Any word on his status, even without him, will be solid at the position, but there's no denying our offense would be unstoppable if he were to stay and get even better over the offseason. I don't know if it's unstoppable. It'll be an elite offense, though. I agree with you there. And I don't have any reason to believe he's not coming back.
Yeah, he was different than the other guys, in my opinion. He never really even acknowledged he had a decision to make when we talked to him a week or two, because I don't think most of us expected him to have much of a decision to make. Well, then he goes and has a 200-yard game in the bowl game. So now people are a little bit more concerned. I don't know. I think he's coming back, but it wouldn't be the craziest thing that ever happened. We've seen backup defensive linemen go pro. So it's not like insane to think about, but he's never really even acknowledged that there was a decision to make. Like, I've got to go talk to my family. I've got to think. Even Trey Benson, who we really didn't think had a decision to make or a major decision to make at the time, said he had a decision to make.
Well, yeah, because he played so well down the stretch over the last 5 games, it put him in a position to where maybe he'd have to make a decision. I think Johnny does need to come back, frankly, and he can be incredible. We all know the deal. We've had this conversation 4,000 times. He is sensational until he drops the easiest pass ever thrown, and then he'll make the most difficult catch you'll see on a Saturday. He's a weird cat.
Aaron Parrish makes a comment in the chat that Auden Tate ruined him on having good receivers come back. Again, this is where I would say the difference in this program is now compared to some of those years was this is different. These guys are different. They've all talked. All these guys coming back was not a coincidence. They've all talked about how badly they want to come back because of what they could do next year. That wasn't happening around the time Auden Tate went pro.
Well, that was a coaching change. That was in the middle of a coaching change. And also there wasn't money to be paid. There's money out there now for a Johnny Wilson to come back. It's not NFL money, but it's fun money. It's good money to have.
So, totally different situation.
And he can make himself a lot more money by having a better year than he did this year. But look, man, I was trying to come up with a comparison, Jeff. Is it like if Shaq missed 1 out of every 5 dunks he had? You'd be like, come on, Shaq, lay it up if you have to.
Yeah.
Quit missing dunks. But you still love the fact that he's dunking 4 out of 5 times, and he completely changes the way a defense has to cover everybody else. That's Johnny Wilson.
Once, right? We say that all the time, and it's important to know that and I try to, because I was on the side of he drops too many balls, and he does, but he also makes incredible catches and changes games. That's true too.
And the best thing about him is he can drop that pass
and still catch the next one. Because I think most of us would drop that pass and be like, oh no, what am I going to do? Yeah. It's like if I shank a tee shot, it's in my head. It is it's a really weird talent set because I was going to say, Corey, to your point, and I've thought about this as a diehard Bucs fan, and this is giving Johnny Wilson too much credit, admittedly.
Yeah, he's not Mike Evans yet.
But you know where I'm going.
Same ballpark.
But Mike drops a lot of passes. He also wins games on his own. And nobody that big should run like that. And Mike is faster than Johnny. But it is weird. You'll watch Mike drop a key 3rd and 6 catch in the middle of the field right here. It's like a catch somebody that great with hands that big cannot drop, and he does. And you scream out at your TV, you SOB, and then he makes a catch in the back of the end zone, gets 2 feet down, and his hands back, and you're like, how did he make that catch? So you just have to take the good with the bad.
I think my favorite moment of this season was watching Trayshawn Ward, Jamie Robinson, their reactions when I asked Johnny Wilson about when he gets man coverage in the postgame. Yeah. And they were like, and Jamie just started going, so it don't add up, man. Yeah. It don't add up. It was awesome.
Man 6'7".
Because he also he's got some quick twitch to him. He's not just a lumbering.
No, he's pretty quick for his size.
I mean, it's not like he's running even with these DBs on post patterns. He's past.
Yeah, he would have. If that ball wasn't a little underthrown, he would have run right. I mean, he ran by him.
Yeah, and he can separate against a lot of DBs, but the better DBs will run with him. There are plenty of guys that stay with him.
But then he's got the other skill set of
right. The safety that was covering him at the end of that game, that's an amazing play for a safety to make.
He did unbelievable effort.
Why was he with him? Yeah. That's a great play.
He played way off to start off with.
But he's right there, and he just gets bitched. I mean, then that's going to happen when you're facing a 6'7" guy, and that's a one-handed catch followed by a get the hell up off me. I mean, it was really quite amazing. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Jacksonville Jaguars, $1.85 favorite with the AFC South after their 19-3 win over the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football. The Titans are the second choice, plus 145. Tennessee has dropped 4 consecutive games. heading into their matchup with the Houston Texans at Nissan Stadium in Nashville on Christmas Eve. The Titans laying 3, total 35.5 in that matchup. Tampa Bay Buccaneers will play on Christmas night at the Arizona Cardinals. Tampa Bay bet up from an opening line of 5-point favorites to 7.5-point road favorites. The total 40.5 at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Sign up for the free VSiN newsletter and keep up to date with the biggest sports betting news and insights only at VSIN.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
This report is sponsored by Coca-Cola. The impossible just became possible. Real Coke taste with zero sugar is now available at participating Burger King restaurants. This holiday season, fuel your shopping hunger and enjoy Coke Zero Sugar with a piping hot breakfast sandwich, like a sausage, egg, and cheese croissant. It's sizzling sausage, fluffy egg, and melted American cheese on a toasted croissant makes for a delicious breakfast to start your morning right. And don't forget the crispy hash browns. Or if the flame-grilled Whopper sandwich, BK Royal Crispy Chicken Sandwich, or chicken fries are your fave, you are in luck because all Burger King menu items pair perfectly with an ice-cold Coke Zero Sugar. It's the perfect no-sugar sparkling beverage that goes great with everything. 'Tis the season for Coke Zero Sugar and the rest of the year, too, because Coke Zero Sugar is not just for the holidays. You can enjoy it all year long since you rule at participating U.S. Burger King restaurants.
Your local news now.
The Leon County Sheriff's Office announced Monday morning that it is investigating an incident that led to the death of a man. The Sheriff's Office said it responded to the scene located on the 500 block of Ravensview Drive on Sunday night in reference to a shooting. When deputies arrived, an adult male was discovered with a gunshot wound. The victim was taken to a hospital, and while at the hospital, the victim was pronounced dead. An investigation into the incident is underway, and anyone with information is asked to contact the Sheriff's Office by calling 850-606-3300 or provide anonymous information by calling Big Ben Crime Stoppers at 850-574-TIPS. One Blood is offering free movie tickets to those interested in donating blood at one of their select donation drives, including Thomasville and Tallahassee. Donators will receive 2 free movie tickets, a free One Blood long sleeve shirt, and a wellness checkup. For more information regarding which One Blood drives are offering the promotion, visit oneblood.org. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at macklemoresystems.com.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
This is Tyler from Bear No Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere.
Save big time in the new year and get $1,200 off select new units.
Online at BaranoAC.com.
Keeping you comfortable is what Barry does best.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the South. You or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Guys, we never get to do this. R. Wilmer asked us a question in the chat, and he's great, loyal, and all that good stuff. And he wants to know what we think the win total should be over under. Now, I'm going to play a little minor game, Seminole Headlines game of W's and L's.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Now, here's why, though. We can't do it officially until we know dates and times. We do know for 4 games, but we all know we don't know the ACC schedule. Now, we know the teams. We just don't know when and where, and that matters. That how you project that game is it matters. All right, so here are the games, not necessarily in this order, guys. You decide Florida State's win total. We're just going to provide our Wilmer what we think the number should be, okay? LSU, Southern Miss, Northern Alabama, be counting in your head, guys, at Florida, at Boston College, at Clemson, home to Miami, home to Syracuse, at Wake, home to Duke, home to Virginia Tech, at Pitt.
9.5. 9.5.
Okay.
I think that's where the over-under should be at. But I think listening to that list, I think 10 is the low end. I think 11 wins is very possible. I mean, because
so you'd put it at 10.5?
No, I don't know that, because I think it would get hammered. If Vegas said it at 10.5, I think it would get hammered
to the under.
Yes. Just because I just don't know that people, the public, how many people would actually bet on over 10.5. So I think they'd have to set it 9.5.
All right, let's play a little game here.
I personally think, I mean, I think 11 wins is definitely doable.
Let's play another game here that's fun. I know there's no sure thing. We can do the outlier game, but in games that you think Florida State is like a 65 to 75% chance they're going to win, let's identify those games. You ready? Pitt on the road.
That's one of the ones where I'm a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not 100% confident in that game at all. But
would you put it at 70%?
Yes.
I need to do a little bit more look in the roster. What's coming back?
Okay,
because they're a pretty good team. Man.
Virginia Tech here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I put that at high win percentage. Yeah. Duke here.
Yeah.
Exceedingly high win percentage. Wake there.
And I know people are going to wonder. Duke had a good year.
They did. Elko did a good job.
I think they're a very experienced team.
They also are not going to have the talent to come in here and win this game. At Wake, thank God that quarterback's gone.
So are all those linemen and his receiver.
That's right. This has got to be. Not only should Florida State beat Wake, I hope he kicks an onside and tries to run it up.
Look, I'm not leaving Snuggy Hill without a win.
We are all rolling up to Snuggy Hill.
We've done this way too many times.
Yeah. Truist Field is going to see a win that day for Florida State, damn it. Okay. All right. Syracuse here, ass stomping. At Clemson, where are we putting it, guys?
I'm putting his. I think
you think
it's
a 50-50?
But it's.
Yes, I do. I'd say 51%. Florida
45 Florida State.
Harris, bullish on the win at Clemson. Everybody, at Boston College up there in Chestnut Hill, where they do not allow tailgating.
Win. Confident win.
Good old alumni stadium, huh? At Florida.
Confident win.
Whoa. Ooh.
I'm in the middle. I'm still 51. I have no idea what Florida will be. None.
Well, I think that's the thing.
They're going to get a quarterback?
Well,
probably. They're probably going to go get one.
They got the Wisconsin kid. What are you talking about? They got Mertz.
Oh, is that who they brought in?
Yeah.
Oh, he's ass.
I mean, you got to think there's another one they're going to try to get, but I don't know where you're going to get it.
I'd grab a guy off the street before I'd grab Mertz. That's terrible.
I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a Florida fan when we were down in Orlando. And
was he reeling?
He's not in a good place.
He's not
in a good place. And he said, and this is and again, great guy, huge Florida fan. And he goes, he's like, man, I can't understand how we went out and got that guy out of the portal. And he's lamenting the guys they've lost to the portal. They've lost.
They lost a ton. Yeah.
And I said, were you going to get anybody out of the portal? He goes, how can we? Florida State's taking all of them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no good ones left.
I don't know if he's representative of the entire fan base, but he's at a low point.
If you guys saw me on the chat there, I just seriously hurt my leg while we were talking. So somebody's laughing right now thinking, what the hell happened to Jeff? But I scraped my knee on the inside of this thing, and it felt like a scalpel was going
Nice,
workman's comp claim.
Son of a
have to have surgery, too.
Yeah. North Alabama, 100% chance of a win. Southern Miss at Doak, 98% chance of win, right? LSU, Camping World Stadium. We get to go back to that hellhole. Yeah. Meaning the stadium, not the city, not the city, guys, not the city. What do we say, 50-50? That's 50-50 to me.
Yep.
55, maybe.
I think you got 3 games that you start out the season thinking they're 50-50.
But I think you got the better quarterback, and I believe in.
All right, well, Wilmer, I'm sitting at 9.5.
Yep, I think that's fair.
9.5.
And we hit the over. We're banging the over.
Yeah, I'm betting the over. Ira is too. Hell, you could float Ira 10.5 and kind of ratchet up the odds and make a bet with him. He's taking over there too.
If they mess around with an 8.5, Jeff, I'm not only putting on.
You're gonna come and give me money to give to my bookie.
I'll be robbing people to put money on that game.
You're gonna take the mortgage. All right, Rob writes, Happy New Year, gentlemen. Short and to the point. It seems like Norvell, Atkins, and Tal throw a lot of wrinkles into a game, the kind of ones that cause defensive coordinators to lay awake at night. It doesn't seem like Fuller or members of his staff do the same. All right, I won't keep. He says he loved the season. He doesn't want a ton of change. He's not one of those guys. It's just, it's his observation. My
last comment here.
Mm-hmm.
They got 4 stops in the second half, so
it was important.
It's not. It wasn't. The offense didn't win 70-68. The defense got 4 stops in the second half. I know nobody wants to talk about that, but that's.
I will say they got bailed out on one. That fumble ruined Oklahoma's chances.
Well, I mean, he forced the fumble.
That's Duke Cooper, baby. That's Duke Cooper making a play.
I guess he got luckier than hell, but it worked.
Jamie Robinson broke up a 4th down pass.
That's more about skill than the tackle. They're marching right down the field to score.
One of their catches.
They're going to score. I mean,
one of their touchdowns in the first half was an incredible catch on the sideline.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And they got a short field in the first half.
Yeah.
With Woodson gone, thankfully, writes Matthew, will Norvell look to someone with FSU ties or someone with coaching experience elsewhere? Well, I mean, I don't think the ties you guys are talking about are T-Buck. We've already discussed. He's not coming, I don't think. And Cromartie is the other one, which we didn't discuss. And he was at Texas A&M this year?
He was, but not an on-the-field coach. He's never been an on-the-field coach.
Yeah.
Antonio Cromartie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he was in coaching. Good for him.
He was in a support staff role.
Yeah, he was at Texas A&M where he probably woke up every day in hell because you'd have to live there and you'd have to work for Jimbo.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's definitely hell.
That's a toughie. Richard writes, general recruiting question. Do coordinators recruit their position? I seem to remember they used to recruit specific geographic areas in high schools. Has that changed? Sometimes they recruit their position. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, a lot of times the coordinators don't have as big of an area as the other position. Like usually Tallahassee, it'll be like an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. You're not going to give them a huge area of land where they've got to go all over hell's half acre during a football season to recruit. They have to recruit their position as well.
Josh wants to know.
That's a good nickname for College Station, by the way.
Hell's half acre.
Hell's half acre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh wants to know, is Norvell trying to take the Leonard Hamilton approach with the skill positions by rotating so much talent and athleticism, size at running back, wide receiver, now tight end, thanks to the portal? We should be able to really put a lot of stress on defenses that aren't very deep at linebacker and defensive back. Well, the more talent you have, my friend, the more talent you have is always a good thing.
Yeah. I think he might change his pace philosophy this season because I think this might be one of the most, it's probably man for man, the most talented offense he's ever had. And he's got skilled players for days, and you can wear people down if you go a little quicker. You don't have to go Tennessee quick, but maybe you're snapping it with 26 on the play clock instead of 18. That probably gives you an extra possession at least per game.
It'll be fascinating when he chooses to do that because we don't know.
Yeah, they went fast against Oklahoma sometimes.
They did. They did at times. It'll be interesting to see when he chooses to do it just because you also want to play complementary football, and we know that.
Oklahoma also goes crazy fast.
I mean, fastest team we played all year.
And probably not even close. Wake is fast too, but not even close.
Right.
And again, 32 points, 90, like 80, 90 plays, whatever it was. I mean, I just don't know what people expect. They're playing.
We already agreed that it can be both things. They can be better on defense. You agree with that.
I agree with that.
And let's not act like that was a dominating performance on defense.
I'm not, but people act like it's an abysmal performance. And you're playing it. That offense is tough, man. They scored 42 against TCU or 45.
Yeah.
Well, that offense in the Florida State offense was bad in the first half. That really put them behind the 8 ball.
We only have 30 seconds. We will not solve this debate. It's okay.
We got 9 months to do it.
We got a lot of time to argue with each other about what's reasonable to expect. For Corey and Ira, I'm Jeff. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Our thanks to Director Matthew, as always, and all of you. We will talk to you later. Be well, everybody.